Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Lawyers panic, fear new lawsuits will cancel the DEI agenda nationwide. These lawyers ought to be concerned. New lawsuits are a big problem for them, but there's also a new administration coming into the U.S. government. Coming from law.com, law firm diversity pros fear for future of DEI efforts under Trump presidency. Quote, law firms should just talk more about what they're doing, argued diversity consultant Joel Emerson, who makes money by pushing DEI. Quote, one of the things that makes this so controversial is that people don't know what these programs are. No, people know what these programs are, Joel. It's not that they're unaware that you guys are discriminating against people based on their skin color or their race or their sexual preferences. People have absolutely had it. That's why there's a new administration coming in. And the Department of Justice actually does have a civil rights department. They've been focused on other areas, but when new people come in, it's going to change very quickly. Big law firms have made strides in recent years with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, but some observers now worry about the rolling back of some of those efforts post-election. Donald Trump has signaled a possible desire to take on so-called divisive concepts. Some legal observers say predicting what might occur may be difficult given that Trump's win is still so fresh. This is not that difficult to predict. With Donald Trump set to return to the White House after a historic victory, some in the legal community are wondering whether diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts that have expanded for the past few years within big law firms and those firms' corporate clients, so the companies that they represent and work with, may be rolled back. Known for a traditionally homogenous workforce, large law firms have struggled for years to diversify their ranks to more accurately reflect the mosaic of America. Can you imagine paying an absolute fortune to these big law firms and have them say, look, the quality of your work is really dependent on us being fair to try to give everyone a chance to work on your work. We can't actually do a high quality job. We can't promise that, but we can promise that we're diverse. And I'm not saying that people with different skin colors or sexual preferences can't do an amazing job. I'm saying that these law firms that charge the biggest rates, big law firms charge big rates, are not prioritizing merit when they're bringing people into their law firms. Some of them are. A lot of them aren't. Lately, some law firms have achieved some degree of success by installing DEI professionals in the C-suite. C-suite means CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer. Someone with a chief in their title. That's what the C is for. And participating in programs like the Mansfield certification process, which has focused on ensuring more diverse leadership. What's this Mansfield certification process? The Mansfield certification process is equivalent to the Human Rights Campaign, telling law firms how they're supposed to operate and what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Why do people submit to things like this? Because of the culture. It's just completely ridiculous. Law firms know that people have constitutional rights. You can't violate constitutional rights, even if you say to yourself, well, it's for a very good reason. We don't have the ability to do that and to live in a free country. We can't allow programs and decision-making to be influenced by corrupt programs like this that push ideological agendas that don't treat people fairly. Of course, these guys get sued for this. The law firms themselves get sued. For example, Winston & Strawn is the third law firm hit with Blum Group's DEI lawsuit. Edward Blum has had so much success attacking these law firms for their illegal policies related to hiring and discrimination and trying to push DEI that he's not even suing law firms anymore. He's gone on to doing other things, fixing other problems with other companies. Edward Blum is the guy that won the Supreme Court decision when his organization, Students for Fair Admissions, defeated Harvard and UNC in the Supreme Court. That took him decades to accomplish. He's still around. He's still out there pushing lawsuits. Another one of his successes was the Fearless Fund. From the Associated Press, Fearless Fund drops grant program for Black women business owners in lawsuit settlement. The program was if you were a Black woman, you would be allowed to apply for a grant from their investment company, their venture capital company. If you weren't a Black woman entrepreneur, you were not allowed to apply. It was no need to apply. You don't qualify based on your gender and skin color. Edward Blum sued them, and then he won. And it's a good thing to know, if Edward Blum is suing someone, they should give up right away. He doesn't tend to lose that much, not with the momentum he's gotten, especially out of the Supreme Court win. Now, following Trump's victory, some are concerned that law firm and broader corporate DEI efforts might be stymied. Do you think they might be stymied? The only people that are saying, well, look, don't worry about it, just keep going on. We'll just kind of hide what we're doing a little bit and things will work out and Trump won't pursue this, it'll be okay. These are the people that are selling these services. From Paradigm, build your allyship skills with Paradigm Reach. Write them a check and they'll tell you how to appropriately discriminate against people. I don't know how they don't get sued out of existence. That will probably be coming soon in the future. How can you possibly get away with selling consulting services that you know are illegal, but you're doing because it supports your ideological agenda? At least that's my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see when it goes to court. Quote, it's very easy to target these things when we use this acronym DEI and don't talk about what it is, said Joelle Emerson, co-founder of CEO of diversity consultancy Paradigm. People are very well aware now of what DEI is. There's been a lot of discussion about it. Corporate clients are aware, law firms are aware, people getting discriminated against are aware, whether they're employees of a big company or interns or other employees in a law firm. They know what you're trying to do. It's not legal, and time's up for you guys. This backlash has been brewing over the last several years. In 2023, Edward Blum, the absolute hero and conservative legal activist who helped dismantle affirmative action in college admissions, not just in Harvard, not just in UNC, nationwide in college admissions, and on top of that, his win where the Supreme Court said, of course you can't discriminate against applicants who are going to a college or a university based on their skin color. You can't do that. You can have a policy that talks about them having hardships in their life and treat everyone the same, but you can't segregate out people based on their skin color and say, well, we're going to allow you to come to this school, but you're Asian and we don't like Asians or something. You're not allowed to advance Asians, so you can only advance people of a certain skin color. Of course, that's going to be found to be illegal. Eventually, yes, it's been found to be illegal. And all of that is thanks to a decades-long effort by Edward Blum. Also, former Trump advisor Stephen Miller has been suing businesses through his organization America First Legal, alleging that their pursuit of diversity goals has led to discriminatory treatment against white people. And it's not just white people, and yes, it has. He's already been successful too. Even Bloomberg talks about him constantly. Bloomberg, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, they're all terrified of Stephen Miller, Edward Blum, and Robbie Starbuck. Robbie Starbuck is the guy that has gotten big companies lately like Jack Daniels, Harley Davidson, Tractor Supply, John Deere, Toyota to back down on their ridiculous illegal efforts trying to push DEI. America First Legal, Stephen Miller's group, is a huge help. They've targeted the first lawsuit against Hollywood, suing Paramount and CBS because Paramount and CBS refused to let a white writer advance in a writing role. They would not give him the staff position based on his skin color, and that's what they're fighting out in the lawsuit now. It was also an inspiration for Gina Carano's lawsuit to be accepted and not dismissed by the judge handling that case. Gina Carano is suing Disney because she was treated differently, the same way Paramount and CBS tried to defend their lawsuits once they were sued, saying that they had a First Amendment right to hire people based on skin color or any reason they wanted to because they were involved in artistic expression. So big thanks to America First Legal, Stephen Miller, Jason Blum, and Robbie Starbuck. Quote, I'm preparing our clients for total disruption in DEI, ESG, and social impact overall. We know the Trump administration and its supporters like Project 2025 have pledged to disrupt the regulatory and enforcement environments. According to attorney Scott Curran, CEO of social impact and legal consulting firm Beyond Advisors. Quote, they will likely arm Stephen Miller and Edward Blum with rocket fuel for their efforts to roll back progress that's been made to level the playing field for historically marginalized communities. If we were going to make odds, betting odds, on whether or not Stephen Miller will be cut loose to do what he used to do with the Trump administration, but now do it on behalf of American citizens to try to protect the American idea of everyone being treated equally. Yes, the country is not perfect. It's never been perfect. None of us are perfect. Certainly, these alternatives are not perfect. But if anyone was to give odds on whether or not Stephen Miller is going to be cut loose to do what he needs to do, the odds are it's 100%. I don't know if Stephen Miller is going to join the administration or not. I do know that America First Legal is very successful the way it is now, which is operating as a completely outside entity, like the ACLU, but on behalf of actually protecting people's rights. Even Stephen Miller just having a relationship with America First Legal, with someone inside the federal government, which is a guarantee to have happen, where they will review complaints that he's been making. He's made multiple complaints on different companies, EEOC complaints, where the federal government is supposed to look into discrimination that people are having at their workplace. Under the Biden administration, they hadn't been doing it. Under the new administration, they are going to look into it. They will completely remake the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, and I am really looking forward to that, because everyone should be treated equally, regardless of their skin color, their sexual preference, their race, or any other reason, their political party. That is the potential of America, and that's something America should always be striving to do, not be trying to, on a company-by-company basis or law firm-by-law firm basis, try to right wrongs that are impossible to right, to try to hold people accountable for things that they never had anything to do with, whether it was slavery or whatever right they're trying to wrong, which is really cover for some other sick ideological agenda. It's not going to happen. You can't take that approach to problem solving in a country like this. People have rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution and federal law that protects these civil rights. Those need to be enforced, and things need to get corrected, and they will. And I'm no attorney, so if you wonder, like, well, why are you so interested in this? Why do you keep doing stories about this? The reason is, it's not that I was discriminated against. I had every opportunity that anyone can ever get growing up in America. My issue is this: it's abhorrent, it's obnoxious, it's destructive, it's hurting people now, and it's going to destroy people even more in the future if these things aren't stopped. The promise of America, the promise of the country, is for us to be given this kind of equal opportunity and maybe even additional help on an equal basis, no matter who you are or where you came from. That's the opportunity of America. We're not going to give it up because some people want to push an ideological agenda where you put these people against those people so that you can have power over the new people that are now in power. And that's all this is. It's a power grab. It's illegal. It's inappropriate. And it destroys the health and the heart of this country. I don't want to see that happen, and I'll keep doing videos at least until it's obvious it's not going to happen. This summer, the American Lawyer reported that large firms experienced diversity gains across associates and partners in 2023, and that out of 208 law firms studied, most of them are on the AM Law 200. Minority attorneys comprised of more than 22% of lawyers that year, and that minority partners made up 13.6% of partners. Both figures are improvements over the previous year. But they're only improvements if people are qualified, because these are services. Legal services are actually crucial services. It's about personal liberty. It's about your property. It's about corporate property. It's about having rights respected, rule of law. You're going to diminish rule of law because you want to push the skin color of this lawyer or that lawyer? That's wrong. But as law firms have made some strides, observers now worry about a possible impact on these efforts, particularly as President-elect Trump has been vocal about taking on what he has called divisive concepts, which some say is a euphemism for diversity initiatives. Divisive concepts has been written into law in multiple states already. Yes, it is a euphemism for diversity initiatives. It's a euphemism for telling people that these people are your enemy because of your skin color and you're a victim because of your skin color. That's literally, by definition, divisive. Quote, at the federal level, we know that a second Trump administration would dismantle or refuse to enforce critical DEI programs and initiatives that date back decades, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, who wrote that this summer, responding to policy proposals contained within Project 2025, a blueprint for governance overseen by the Conservative Heritage Foundation. Emerson said that it's still somewhat early for conjecture. Quote, anyone that claims to have a crystal ball on that will probably be lying. But she said that she expects that the Trump administration would likely pick up on its playbook from last time. Oh, the playbook is going to be playbook times 10, because they need to push back so hard that it's impossible, untenable, unrealistic that this could ever come back in this free country again, and they will push back on it. In order to fight back against efforts to stymie DEI programs and initiatives, Emerson said the legal field must push back on the idea that these concepts are controversial. Well, good luck with that. The best thing that law firms can do, she said, is to be clear about what specifically these programs and initiatives are designed to do. No, it doesn't matter what they're designed to do. It matters what they actually do. And what they actually do doesn't go to intentions. Intentions are irrelevant here. Maybe for some criminal purpose or something like that, you could look at intentions. If you're discriminating against people, we don't care why you're doing that. You're not allowed to do that. You don't have the authority to do that, regardless of whether or not you own a company or you own a law firm. You just don't have the authority. So the intention is irrelevant. Emerson, who said she's been advising clients on how to navigate DEI issues for the past several months, expects law firms to continue providing resources and support to attorneys from underrepresented backgrounds, regardless of the concern over any future potential presidential action. Another DEI consultant, Angela Vallet with Vallet Corp., said that while Project 2025 highlights plans to eliminate DEI initiatives in government agencies, they can't mandate that law firms and corporations eliminate DEI programs. Angela's right about that. If you're not a government employee, then you're not an employee that can be affected by a change at the government level with regard to their employment. However, the government kind of knows this. They're in a position to pressure people very easily, and not just with a press release, with lawsuit after lawsuit, after legal action, after fine. The Civil Rights Division, under the current administration, has successfully gotten cash payments, judgments, for not hiring people who were not legal residents, or not hiring people who had criminal backgrounds who would be in a position that they shouldn't really honestly be trusted because they stole, they had a violent crime. This current civil rights DOJ has sued people for that, and they've won against companies just for that, to push their ideological agenda. Not being able to rely even on legitimate precedent to do something like that. Elon Musk is currently still being sued by the Justice Department because he hasn't been hiring people that don't have qualifications as citizens to receive security clearances for his SpaceX company. He's being sued for not hiring them, but he's also not legally allowed to hire those people because he must hire people who are citizens so they can get background checks and be allowed to work in an environment like that, because it's about national security when it comes to certain things that SpaceX actually does. That's what the Justice Department is currently doing. It's doing an ass-backwards thing to attack people and attack companies that don't push their DEI ideological agenda. Even though really, of course, that's the wrong thing to do, but when it comes to the new people coming into government, they will do it based on actual law. Vallet, the paid consultant pushing diversity programs, says this, quote, "Research is clear that diversity is good for business. Organizations understand that you have to have diversity of thought, and diversity of thought comes from having people from all different backgrounds. None of that is going to change regardless of who's in office." Listen to how much denial these people are in. Catherine Dapra, a partner with legal industry consultancy Barras and Brunel, who served as the first chief talent officer at Arnold & Porter, said that she's unconvinced that a president will have a great impact on issues such as law firm DEI initiatives. If Edward Blum was able to get law firms to change their programs to get rid of the woke nonsense they were doing and the diversity hiring they were doing, discriminating against people, do they really think that a new focus from the Department of Justice on having people's rights being respected is not going to affect law firms and companies? Of course it is. But she said this, quote, "The DEI programs constructed across the legal industry have allowed for incredible insights and transparency into the legal workforce and found ways to better align with clients," she said. Many of DEI programs focus on inclusion and engagement, which is certainly of continued value, politics aside, and is not a function of who is president. She went on to say law firms will continue to hire the best and the brightest lawyers and professionals to service their clients, and that law firm cultures thrive when employees have developed a sense of belonging and community within the workplace and are challenged to consider different perspectives to offer strategic solutions to challenging legal issues. And that's the narrative that the diversity consultant companies like to try to push on their clients, to put these clients into impossible situations, saying, hey, look, if you don't have people who are from this country or that country, or have this skin color, or that sexual preference, or this gender, you'll never be able to solve complicated business problems because it doesn't matter what experience people have. How could you consider any legal issue without someone who looks a certain way? As if that literally has anything to do with anything. You're not going to take experience and merit over the way people look or what their sexual preference is, because if you have this or that sexual preference, it's going to give you some special insight into defending your client and protecting their legal and their property rights. It's so absurd that once it's given its proper light, all of these companies, all of these law firms, all of their clients are going to cut this out. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.